Hello, welcome to the IBM Multicloud Management Series. My name is Mark Leftwich and I work in the IBM SWOT and Best Practice team. Today I'm going to show you how to install the Openshift CLI tools and the IBM CLI tools needed to manage clusters in the IBM Cloud. The first CLI tool that we're going to install is the Openshift CLI so that you can run the OC commands. A convenient way to get to the documentation is to log into your IBM Cloud account, go to Clusters, pick the Openshift cluster that you wish to connect to, in this case OCP7. Once that's loaded, you can see on the left hand side here we've got a tab called Access. Here you can provide some instructions that you can run through the commands, and it will also take you to the latest docs. So if you do see the docs, it will open up the latest page for downloading the Openshift CLI. Now in this case I have Openshift 4, so I need to go to the Openshift 4 download link here. This will open up a public repository where you can download the CLI for the specific version you are running. So if I click that, you can see we've got all the different file types for all the different versions here. So I'm going to scroll down until I see 4.3, the folder, which is here. Once the folder loads, you can see there are different options depending on the OS you're running or the architecture. So you can run this from a Windows box, a Mac OS. In this case, I'm going to run the commands from a Red Hat box. So I'm going to pick Linux. Now you need to click on the file and download that to your machine. If you're running this from your local workstation, you're ready to go. If, like me, you're going to run this on a remote machine first, you need to copy that file over to the remote machine, in my case, Red Hat. Once you have downloaded the Openshift CLI for the correct operating system and architecture, you then need to scroll down the documentation page to step 3. Here it's asking you to move the file into your local bin path. So what I have done, I have already downloaded my Openshift CLI file from the website and moved it to my Red Hat box. If I now change directory to the temp directory which I stored that file in, you can see there is a compressed version and an uncompressed version. All I've done is uncompress that file to give me the OC file which needs to be moved to my local directory. If we quickly jump back to the documentation, you can see the command that we need is to move the file to the local bin directory. I'm going to click the copy on the right hand side, and then I'm going to jump back into my terminal onto my Red Hat box. If I paste that command in here, I can now come back and just change the path to where the file is and click return. If we once again jump back to the documentation, you can see we also need to check that the user local bin is in our path. So I'm going to copy on the right hand side the echo path command, jump back into my terminal and paste. So I can see it there, so we all look good. As a test to make sure that the OC command works, I'm going to type in OC space version and hit return. You can see the command line returns what the client version is, so we know that the operating system can see that. Next, I'm going to show you how to log into your Openshift cluster via the CLI. If we move back into the IBM Cloud web page, we go back into our clusters and then the cluster that we want to log on to. Once the page loads, we're going to log into our Openshift console, so we're going to click the big blue button. Now the page is loaded, I'm going to go to the top right corner again under the user I've logged in with, drop the little arrow down and do copy login command. This will open a separate page and it will display a specific token for you to log into this cluster. You need to click on display token. This will then give you two logins. You can use the OC login through the CLI, or you can also use the curl command to directly against the API. I'm going to take the top one out of the two and copy the whole line. Then I'm going to go back to my terminal and paste that into the terminal and click return. You can see now that we are logged into the cluster and that the OC command is working. Next, I'm going to install the IBM Cloud CLI. Now, if you type in IBM Cloud CLI in Google, it will be at the top page and you'll be taken to this web page you can see on screen. This will install the IBM Cloud CLI, but it will also install some extra bits we're going to need later on down the line, such as Git, Docker, Helm, and kubectl. If we scroll down the page, we can see step run, running the bash command. So what I'm going to do, again, this is for Mac and Linux, there is a window command underneath that, so make sure you pick the correct one. I'm running on Red Hat, as you know, so I'm going to click the Linux. I'm going to jump back into my terminal and I'm going to run that command. It will now go through loading the plugins and installing all the pieces we need. It takes about a minute to install and then it returns you to the command prompt. Once it's completed, we're going to go back to the documentation and we're going to verify the install with an IBM Cloud Dev Help command. So you can either copy it straight off or on the right hand side there's a copy button. Back to the terminal, paste the command, hit return. You can see that has provided an output so that we know the CLI is installed and operating correctly. Now we have the CLI installed, we can now check a couple of the other commands like helm just to make sure they're also working. So I'm going to do a helm -- help. That's working, it's brought back to the page. I'm also going to run an OC project. We're already in Cube System, so I know that the command is running, and if I do an OC get pods, I can see pods coming back from the cluster. So we now verify that the CLI is installed and running and that we can now use this against our Openshift cluster. Thank you for watching and I hope you found that helpful. This is part 2 in the MCM series, so be sure to check out the other videos.